This is like a landlord bragging about a state-of-the-art security system. Except the front door is literally off the hinges. They say rigorous vetting, but the Inspector General witness says DHS didn't even have a formal screening and vetting process at the start. And the clip that should live forever. 36,000 people admitted without proper identification. That's not a gap. That's a policy choice.
Thank you very much, Senator Cornyn. Thanks to all the witnesses for being here. Mr. Adelman, if I could just start with you. You are the Deputy Inspector General for the agency charged with overseeing the Afghan parolee program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In 2022, your office found that President Biden's DHS allowed some Afghans into the country before they were fully vetted, including, if I remember correctly, one who had been liberated from prison by the Taliban. Do I have that correct?
That's correct.
I think we're going to see this exhibit maybe over the side of my shoulder here. I just want to read directly from your report. CBP allowed some evacuees to enter into the United States who were not fully vetted. CBP paroled one evacuee into the United States who had been liberated from prison by the Taliban. CBP paroled another evacuee who posed national security concerns. Now, early reports by the inspectors general at DOD and the FBI found that over 50 known or suspected terrorists had entered the United States as a result of the Biden administration's screening or lack thereof. And last month, the Director of National Intelligence said that 2,000 Afghans in America may have ties to terrorism. That is a very, very big number. So I just want to talk a little bit about how this happened and see if I can get your help in doing that. Let me just start with testimony that this committee, the full committee, the Judiciary Committee, previously received. In 2021, then DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
So here's what just went down. Senator Josh Hawley is questioning a Deputy Inspector General overseeing oversight of the Afghan parole program. Hawley cites the IG's own report saying CBP allowed some evacuees into the U.S. before they were fully vetted, including one allegedly liberated from prison by the Taliban. Then Hawley contrasts that with DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' earlier claim that the vetting program was indeed rigorous. And this matters because when government officials oversell rigor and underdeliver basic controls, you don't get a paperwork error. You get national security risk and institutional rot.
Testified that the administration had a rigorous vetting process in place. I think we've got a quote of his here. We have taken steps, I'm quoting him now, to make sure that the vetting program is indeed rigorous. Now, he said, this may have been in response to a question from me, he said that indeed the vetting did deviate from normal refugee screening. That was an understatement. But he went on to say, we have taken steps to make sure the program is indeed rigorous. So you investigated the vetting process. Did you find that the Biden administration's DHS had a formal vetting process in place that they followed carefully?
Okay, watch how fast the trust us talking points collapse the minute there's sworn testimony and a report on the table. Let's look at what happened, and I'll give you my take at the end. Because the numbers in this exchange, they're not just astounding. They're an indictment.
Mr. Chairman, before you answer, question for the chairman. Are we intentionally bypassing opening statements by the witnesses and going straight to questions?
No, we'll come back to opening statements after Senator Hawley's through.
The department did not have a formal process at the start of the OAW.
Okay, can you just say that one more time?
The department at least could not provide us with a formal screening and vetting process at the start of the OAW process.
The department did not have a formal screening and vetting process in place. The most that the Biden administration did, according to your investigation, was to run Afghans' biometric and biographical information, I think is what you found, like their names and dates of birth and other biographical information they may have supplied. Is that correct? Or that broadly correct?
That's correct until December of 2021 when they began requiring in-person interviews.
So until that time, for the first several months, they were relying on biographical information supplied by the Afghans as well as some biometrics. Now, your office found that that approach was severely flawed, partly because many Afghans did not know their birth dates. Is that correct? Explain this.
That's correct. There was missing information from the OAW population, including first, last names, and date of birth. There was about 11 to 12,000 that did not know their date of birth.
How many, sorry?
Between 11 and 12,000.
11 and 12,000 who did not, which is a cultural thing, I think, but
Correct.
obviously presents an issue for us when doing vetting. So 11 or 12,000 who were admitted for whom we didn't even have their date of birth. That's pretty extraordinary. Let me ask you this. Did the Biden administration require Afghans to show identification at ports of entry?
The department requested identification, but not all Afghans had formal identification, such as a passport. We found over 30,000 that did not have formal identification.
Can you just say that number one more time? How many who didn't have identification?
I believe the number's actually 36,000.
36,000 who could not show identification at a port of entry. Here's a quote from the report. CBP's concepts of operations allowed its officers to admit or parole evacuees into the country without presenting proper identification documents. 36,000 of them. That's astounding. And then my understanding is to do the bare bones background checks that were actually performed, DHS, the Biden DHS, sent a list of Afghans to the Department of Defense and the FBI. That process would normally take months. Would it surprise you to hear that the DOJ's Inspector General found that the list of evacuees was submitted to the FBI via email and the FBI was given 2 hours to respond?
I can't confirm that. I can just say that there's very limited time to conduct the screening and vetting of those evacuees.
Yeah, here's the quote. It's over my shoulder, I think. DOD and CBP created lists of Afghan refugees which were submitted to the FBI via email with only 2 hours to respond. Let me just ask you finally, I know my time is about expired, just when it comes to interviews, normally refugees, SIV applicants are required to attend an in-person interview. Mr. Edelman, did DHS systematically interview evacuees before they were admitted? Were all the evacuees interviewed?
No,
Did they systematically conduct mental health screenings?
not that I'm aware of.
Well, all of the above should have been done. And the fact that tens of thousands were admitted without so much as an ID, without a birth date, I think it's really no surprise why we are where we are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, case builder time. Receipts only. Hawley reads directly from the oversight report. CBP allowed some evacuees to enter, who were not fully vetted. He adds the line that hits like a brick. One evacuee had been liberated from prison by the Taliban, and others posed national security concerns. They say, secure process. But the report says not fully vetted. That's the whole ball game. Hawley asks the cleanest possible question. Did DHS have a formal vetting process in place that they followed carefully? And the witness's answer is brutal. The department did not have a formal process at the start. If you're watching this thinking, wait, so what exactly was rigorous? You're right. The witness confirms that early on, DHS relied on biographical and biometric info, names, dates of birth, whatever was provided, until December 2021, when they began requiring in-person interviews. They say, rigorous vetting. But interviews, basic standard interviews, weren't required until months into the operation. The witness explains the approach was severely flawed because key identity data was missing, including dates of birth. Then we get the jaw dropper. About 11 to 12,000 evacuees did not know their date of birth. That's not a clerical issue. That's you trying to run a background check with half a license plate. Hawley asks about identification at ports of entry. The witness says DHS requested it, but many didn't have it. Then gives the corrected figure, actually 36,000. And Hawley reads the key line. CBP's concepts of operations allowed its officers to admit parole evacuees without presenting proper identification documents. They say, we are careful, but the operating concept literally allowed no proper ID admissions. Hawley cites a DOJ IG finding. Evacuee lists were sent to the FBI via email with only 2 hours to respond. The witness won't confirm the exact detail. Classic careful bureaucrat move, but admits the reality. Very limited time to conduct screening and vetting. So what does that tell you? They didn't build a system designed to catch problems. They built a system designed to move people through fast and deal with consequences later. So what does this actually mean for you? It means the government is asking you to trust us as a substitute for standards. And that's how you get a country where rules are strict for ordinary people and flexible for institutions. It's the smoke detector analogy. They told you the building was protected, but they didn't install the alarm until after the fire. And it's also the burglar with keys analogy. Letting people in without proper ID and incomplete biographical data is like giving someone your house keys because they promise they're your cousin, then acting surprised when something goes missing. This isn't about demonizing refugees. It's about whether the U.S. government can do basic governance without lying about it. This isn't really about Afghan evacuees. This is about institutional dishonesty, selling the public one story while operating something totally different behind the curtain. Incident becomes pattern. Crisis hits, process gets bypassed, officials go on TV and say, rigorous. Watchdogs later say, no formal process. And nobody is held accountable. Institutional consequence. The public stops trusting lawful immigration, lawful asylum, lawful refugee programs, Because leadership keeps poisoning credibility with spin. Here's the punchline moral sentence. When government lies about basic safeguards, the harm doesn't stay in Washington, it lands on the public. So yeah, when a sworn oversight witness says there was no formal vetting process at the start, 11 to 12,000 missing birth dates, 36,000 without proper ID, and even talk of 2-hour FBI turnaround, that's not rigorous. That's reckless. They say we handled it, but their own oversight trail says we winged it. If you found this useful and you want more like it, hit like and subscribe. It helps independent commentary reach more people. Thanks for watching.